Welcome everyone. Today we have one of the strongest last Epoch Season 1.0 build. Now looking behind me, I'm currently riding my little car with my Ghost Flame. So the build is incredibly strong. And let me show you guys a demonstration. Look at my warding. I can easily get over 10,000 warding, and this is barely scratching the surface of the build. This is one of the strongest build that was recommended to me by a viewer to have a look at this build. And yes, I will be showing you guys this particular build and also why it is the most broken build for Warlock in Season 1. The build have tons of damage potential, over millions of damage per second with damage over time and also ticks from the Cathartic Fissure. Together with the ability to absorb minions to take their health, you'll be hitting over 10,000 shield in no time, or 10,000 warding. So looking over here, whenever I need to be defensive, I can go to my Perfect Fail, and I can then also absorb my minions. The build really does tons of damage. And let me just show you guys a small demonstration against the boss. So over here, this is me fighting one of the bosses in the Echoes. So over here, I have my stacks ready, and I just lay on my hands on the boss. So within 2 seconds, the boss is pretty much down to half HP. And then we do the same combo. And if you do it correctly, you can also absorb the health of your minions, like I'm doing over here. And all of a sudden my warding's over 20,000, and the build is insane with damage. Now in case you guys are wondering how strong the build is, I'm learning this build from The Curse, and this was recommended to me by a viewer. The Curse is currently clearing corruption level 800 plus, and there's no problem with any of the monsters, and he was getting 50,000 plus warding. So what I do is, I'll have my builder's guide for a more mid-tier warlock, and also his warlock guide, and also his YouTube guide for you guys to have a look, to be learning from him, and to make the warlock even more powerful. Now instead of showcasing my damage, let's have a look at the Curse's endgame damage with this build, and also a big shout out and thank you for him for sharing this build. You can see that he was doing over 10 million damage, 7 million damage, 8 million damage with a single tick of this build. And what's more incredible is, with his current gears, he was getting over 50,000 warding, and he said he can get over to 100,000 warding with a correct combination of minion health. So this is an incredible build for Warlock to be farming. And the best thing is, the availability of item for this build is so much easier to get. Now in this video, one of the highlights is I want to teach you guys how to quickly farm all the necessities of all the items that is needed for this build. And in doing so, you will be incredibly powerful in no time, because this is such a simple build to craft, and it's incredibly powerful for getting over 500, even 800 corruption. Now coming over to the builder's guide, you can see that our build will be using 2 core uniques that will be required. We'll be using the Imitation Belt, which allows us to give ourselves fire debuff in return gaining increased spell damage, and this stack up to 40%. So technically you can get 240 spell damage bonus. So let me show you guys what I mean by over here. So here I have got lucky, I got a +6 spell damage. So basically by casting flame onto myself, notice I have 40 stacks, right? And having this amount of stacks and having this belt means I have increased spell damage by 240 flat. And this is amplified by everything else. Now one of the ways we're applying flame to ourselves is using those gloves. We will be applying bleeding damage to ourselves that is converted into ignite. So here we'll be bleeding ourselves with Spirit Plate, which turns into ignite onto ourselves. And easily I can get over 40 stacks, and then we snapshot the Cathartic Fissure and deals tons of damage. Now in terms of defense and also utility, we're using the helmet and also the relic to provide us with additional shielding, having uncapped narcotic resistance, and also the ability to get even more shield and also more HP using this relic. We're getting increased casting speed and also lots of debuff, lots of spell damage multipliers using the Maid Alchemist wand. And this one, I didn't really craft this one correctly. I should have waited a little bit. I was lucky with LP3, but if you look into a builder's guide, the endgame builder's guide from The Cursed, he was recommending critical strike multiplier, cast speed, and also narcotic penetration. Now one of the biggest and also strongest combo for this build is the ability to absorb your minions. So here I'll be casting my Bone Curse, and by having Bone Curse turns into my Bone Prison, those can consider minions. And now if I use my Perfect Veil, I just have to hover over them and I'll be absorbing them of their HP. And this gives me tons of shielding. And this is before I even get any minion HP. So in the endgame build over here, you can see that the curse is getting lots of mini health. And having mini health tier 7 means he was getting over 50,000, close to 100,000 bonus warding. And this makes the build super broken. He was doing millions of damage because of the snapshotting effect by getting to 40 stacks, and then he was unkillable using the warding. And even when I tried it as a basic Warlock, I was unstoppable, and it's really fun to try this build. Now, because this is such an incredible build, and I do believe Curse had an incredible explanation with all the item cores and everything detailed that is related, so I'll provide his link of the build. But over here, what I want to do is, I want to share with you guys how to farm those unique items if you don't have those set. So you can be farming the Mad Alchemist world by killing Exalt mages. This one should be quite simple, and just be careful with crafting, you should be fine. Second to that, you can be target farming your gloves and also your helmet by coming over here into the section for the gloves and also helmet. I'm currently farming for my gloves in the ending of the storm. And if you guys are looking to farm the helmet, you should be coming to the Black Sun for the highest chance of getting the helmet. Now, one of the ways I was getting my gloves was actually using Ruins of Ascension. So here, let me show you guys over here. In order to get those particular gears, you can come to the simulator. You can see that the chance of Ruins of Ascension to get the gloves I wanted is 6.2%. So let's have a look at the helmet if you're going for the helmet as well. If you're going for a helmet, the chance is actually 7.1%. And this means using Ruin of Ascension and also having the Circle of Fortune means you have so many more ways of getting those two particular uniques. Now, for one of the corner piece of the build for the belt, you should be getting this one from the Soulfire Bastion. This is one of the dungeons that is located over here, and what I recommend is make sure you do the dungeon in level 3 or level 4 difficulty. So one of the biggest reasons for this is because this particular item only drops at tier 3 difficulty with 12%, and this one drops at tier 4 difficulty with 18%. If you find yourself to be dying at tier 4, doing tier 3 is not a problem. I got mine at tier 3, and I'll show you guys over here. This is me doing a lot of runs, right? So here I was quite fortunate. After doing the boss like 4 or 5 times on tier 3, I was able to get this really nice belt with plus 6 spell damage, and also 1 LP. Now finally, if you're looking for the final relic, this one has to be farmed on the boss. And the boss that you want to be farming is gonna be this one, the Ring of Dragon. This particular relic will drop from the timeline boss. So the dragon over here that you'll be farming, the relic will be dropping from the timeline boss. It is not the most common drop, and it took me 5 or 6 rounds at least to get this one at corruption level 200. So I'll show you guys over here. If you come over here, you can see this is the rare drop for the Emperor of Corpses. And this allows you to get all your relic for this particular build. Now briefly going through the stats that you want to be looking for. You can be getting intelligence, cathartic fissure leveling, or you can even get mini health over here on the chest. Similarly, we want to be looking for mini health and also mini health on the rings. Because we'll be absorbing mini health into additional warding, it is really nice to have mini health on those particular items. Now we can also be getting additional mini health on the amulet, and this will allow us to survive incredibly and also rack up those warding. Now briefly going through the skill rotations for this build. For me, traveling through the dungeons, I can go into right away into the Ghost Flame, and this allows me to ride my little car around and kill everything that's around me. Now if you want, make sure you cast your Spirit Plague before you cast your Cathartic Fissure, and having the snapshot effect allows you to record the bonus damage when you're casting the spell, not when after. So make sure you're stacking yourself with lots of stacks before you cast it. Like over here, I stack about 13-14 times, 13 or 14 stacks, and I'm also able to one-shot everything. Now whenever needed, you can be casting your Bone Curse directly, and this will provide you with additional warding. So let me try to show you guys over here. So over here you can see by casting my Bone Prison and also absorbing my Bone Prison minions with my Profane Veil, I was easily getting so much more shielding with no of the mini health. But if I slowly change my gears into mini health, I can easily get so much more warding to become super survivable with a combination. So in order to travel around fast, I'll be flying around with my little car over here. And then before I attack, I get myself a few stacks, then I attack, cast my Bone Prison, and rotate into unstoppable killingness with more warding. Now in order to follow the build, I have adjusted my loot filter even more for this build. You can see there's a lot more Warlock items that I added. What I do is, I'll be updating this loot filter for you guys if you want to follow my Warlock build. Now do keep in mind guys, if you don't plan to play Falconer, make sure you untick everything with a Falconer name on it. And this way you can be farming for multiple Warlock builds, including this one, and also have really good time into last epoch by going into higher corruption. Now before I finish, I'll provide you guys with a short replay recording of me testing the build and also fighting in my corruption levels with dungeons and also bosses. And also again guys, make sure you check out the Curses video, because he explained everything so much more in details, and he really made a wonderful build for Warlock for last epoch. Really loving this one. Now before we finish, if you guys enjoy those last epoch guides, builds and also tips, make sure you subscribe for more builds and also guides to come. And all of the notes will be available in the links below. I have collected tons of notes for last epoch as we make more guides, and links will be available for you guys to have a look and also, just to read up on the things we talk about in the video. So yes, please subscribe and also stay tuned for a lot more last epoch content. And if you guys have any tips, any advice on the game, I'm still quite new to the game, so feel free to let me know in the game or in Discord so we can be learning together with you guys with more experience.